a small nation of rugged individualism known for its breathtaking landscapes of mist-laden highlands and age-old castles. Scotland has produced a legacy of some of the most ferocious warriors in history. But how did this small Highland nation build such a fearsome legacy? How do we go about answering the question, how did Scotland become so fierce? Before we get started, let's have a quick chat about our wonderful sponsor. Now back to Scotland. Despite being often outnumbered and outgunned by its more powerful neighbors, Scotland carved out a reputation for itself as a powerhouse among nations. This is quite remarkable considering the country's relatively small size and limited resources compared to some of the other countries of Europe during those times. In order to really get to the bottom of this, we need to take a closer look at Scotland's past and how it became one of the most feared countries in history. Let's start with geography. You see, the geography of Scotland had a huge influence on the development of its people. Imagine living in a place with unpredictable weather, remote villages, and hardly any roads. That's what Scotland was like. Back then, Scotland's climate was wild, and the locals had to be tough to survive. They lived in small communities called clans led by chiefs who made sure everyone worked together to survive. These clans became fiercely independent because they had to. Each clan was isolated and self-sufficient. This meant that they were used to solving problems on their own and relying on themselves. They didn't have much contact with other clans, so if there was a threat, they couldn't count on anyone else to save them. They had to be ready to fight. This constant pressure to be self-reliant created a tough, hardy race of people who were willing to face any challenge head-on. And now, let's talk about a bit of Scottish history. Scotland has always been in a power struggle with England. They've been fighting over land and power for hundreds of years. It's like having a bully in the neighborhood. And in these conflicts, the Scots showed their mettle. One of the first big battles was at the Mercat Cross in 1297. The English army was huge. But the Scottish warriors were led by a guy named William Wallace. He taught the Scots to use guerrilla tactics, like hitting the English when they least expected it. And it worked. At the Mercat Cross, the English thought they had the numbers to crush the Scots, but Wallace's tactics won the day. The Scottish victory here wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about showing that they wouldn't be pushed around anymore. They would fight back. Fast forward to 1314 and you've got Robert the Bruce leading the Scots to victory at the Battle of Bannockburn. Again, the English thought they could easily beat the Scots, but they were wrong. The Scots were too tough. They used guerrilla tactics and their knowledge of the land to trap the English. The battle became a nightmare for the English army, and they had to retreat in defeat. Now, you might ask why these battles are important. Well, they're important because they set the tone for future conflicts. The Scots proved that they could unbe bullied and that they were brave enough to stand up for what they believed in. It's kind of like standing up to a bully at school. Sure, the bully is bigger and stronger, but if you don't stand up for yourself, then you'll be bullied forever. And now let's talk about another key aspect of Scotland's history, the clan system. Scotland was divided into these groups called clans, and each clan was led by a chief. The clan system was more than just a way to organize the people. It was a way of life. Members of the same clan were loyal to each other. They helped each other and protected each other. If someone from outside the clan did something wrong, clan members were ready to defend each other. The clan system encouraged competition among groups, making each one better because they wanted to be the best. It was a lot like a team trying to win a championship. The idea of defending the clan's honor was a big deal. Clan members took pride in their shared history and traditions. They wanted to show everyone that their clan was the best. This pride made them brave and determined. The clan system also encouraged people to be loyal to their word and keep their promises. If someone from the clan made a promise, they had to keep it. Otherwise, they would bring shame to the whole group. Being part of a clan also gave people a sense of belonging and identity. They knew who they were and where they came from. This made them feel proud and strengthened their resolve. It was a great source of unity for the Scottish people. Another thing that contributed to the fierceness of the Scottish people was their religion. You see, Scotland became Protestant during the Reformation. This meant that the Scottish people began to see themselves as separate from the rest of Europe, especially England. They saw their religion as something precious that they had to protect. So when England tried to impose its religion on Scotland, the Scottish people resisted fiercely. They weren't just fighting for land or power. They were fighting for their beliefs. This religious fervor turned the Scottish people into some of the toughest warriors of their time. Let's now travel across Europe with the Scottish warriors. During the 17th century, European kings often hired Scottish mercenaries to fight for them. Known as the wild geese, these Scottish soldiers were famous for their courage and skill in battle. No matter where they went, they took their fighting spirit with them. They weren't just soldiers, they were ambassadors of Scotland, showing the rest of Europe just how fierce the Scots could be. Scottish soldiers even fought in America during the war with the British. The Scottish soldiers who sided with the Americans showed that they were willing to fight for freedom, not just for their king. They were part of the 1st and 2nd Scottish Fencible regiments. Why did they do this? Because they wanted to help the Americans win their war against the British. And they were also unhappy about how things were going in Scotland at the time. They were looking for a new home where they could be free to practice their religion without being bothered by the government. Now let's talk about one of the most famous things about these Scottish warriors, the Highland Charge. Imagine a group of soldiers running towards the enemy as fast as they can, screaming loudly and waving their big swords. That was the Highland Charge. These charges were a big surprise to other armies. The soldiers doing them were tough and fearless. The Highland Charge wasn't just a cool way to attack, it was a symbol of Scotland's fierce fighting style. The Highland Charge was known all over Europe. Other armies tried to copy it, but it was never the same. The Scottish soldiers who did the Highland Charge were a special breed. They were tough, skilled, and very brave. Their attacks were so intense that other armies had a hard time stopping them. What you're probably not aware of is that Scotland has a long tradition of storytelling. The stories of brave warriors and epic battles have been passed down for generations. These tales became a big part of Scottish culture. People would gather together and tell stories of famous Scottish warriors like Robert the Bruce and William Wallace. These stories didn't just entertain people, they also taught them about courage, loyalty, and fighting for what's right. They inspired young Scots to follow in the footsteps of their heroes. It's like reading a superhero comic, except these are real people from Scottish history. Scotland's fierceness isn't just about battles and wars. It's about a people who refused to give up their freedom and identity. Even when things looked dark, the Scottish people kept fighting for what they believed in. They teach us that no matter how big or powerful the enemy is, it's the fighting spirit that truly matters. The Scottish people did that throughout history. Their story is one of bravery, determination, and standing up for what you believe in. It's a lesson that we can all learn from today. The Scottish people were definitely considered one of the most fierce nations in history. Their fierce attitude comes from many things. Their strong connection to their land, the struggles they faced against bigger, more powerful nations, their tight-knit clan system, and their unwavering religious beliefs. They wrote their own story of courage and determination. Their journey is a reminder that it's not the size of a nation that matters, but the size of their dreams and their will to fight for those dreams.